black shirt and a white bow tie, and then I went bald. Yeah, that was
all right. Let's go into it. Map number 1 here.
Yeah, Lightshade is going to be the first map, and spawning in the top left-hand side of the map has the blue Zerg player. It is Reynor.
His opponent in the red. Actually, no.
Oh,
in the red.
Yeah. Also Reynor. It was Vanya at the top left-hand side. There you go.
I got so confused here. Great start.
Great start. That's all on me.
Vanya recently teamless, I believe, right?
Yeah, recently teamless. He tweeted that he wants a team as well. So any teams watching, he's an excellent player, about to 3-0 Reynor, say the experts. So it should be no problem for him to find a team after that. Let's see if it comes to fruition, as both players are opening with a gas into a pool. So nothing too crazy here on Lightshade. I think down the line, though, Beckett is where it really gets interesting for the early pools and the shenanigans there. But we'll see if Reynor makes it that far.
Yeah, Lightshade. You got me there. Lightshade is actually a map where in their recent match as well in the group stage, they both went for the pool 12 and played very aggressive. But, I mentioned it. These players, they're supposed to study what the opponent did in those games and kind of adjust this time around, and opting to play a lot more standard, lot safer at this stage at least. I feel like both of these players, would you agree with that? That they're known for, I mean, it's probably true for a lot of Zergs, but they're known for liking to go Spire quite a bit, right?
Yeah, I would say so. I would say both of these players, of all Zerg players in Europe at the top, maybe with the laser, are some of the most aggressive. And I would say Vanya is even more mid-game oriented than a laser. I think Reynor can play every stage of the game very well, so he can mix in that aggression and be one of the best aggressive players in the world. Vanya, I expect sharp timings, and like you guys were saying during the pre-show, I think that the later the game goes and kind of like the more space Reynor has, the trickier it will get for Vanya.
Yeah, in his game against a laser, actually, on Lightshade, Vanya went for +1 melee, and then he made a lot of links, stayed active out on the map, and he was kind of waiting for a laser to move out with roaches. As soon as that happened, he counterattacked while going for Spire, which allowed him to defend against the mass roach attack that was on his side of the map. And yeah, that was actually one of the games that he won. So perhaps be a repeat here of this style. He goes for the Evo and Roach Warren here at around 3 minutes mark. At the expansion, he already started Lair. This feels like a kind of early Lair. What do you make of this?
It could very well be Muta, but I wouldn't make my lair the natural if I were going Muta, right? Because then Reynor's going to poke at some point with Zerglings, and then he's going to see that lair is morphing. He does take 2 additional gases, so all options are open. It still could be Roach into a +2/+1 attack later. Or it could be indeed the Muta. I haven't seen a 4th cast yet, though, so, the later we see that 4th cast, the less likely Muta are. And, yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, as soon as he starts +1 missile, this kind of feels like it's going to be roaches here from Vanya. You never know. And whereas on the other side, we're just happy to drone up a whole bunch here as Reynor is delaying the taking of the additional gases. And he's starting +1 carapace, so a lot more, I guess, the standard, like more passive style that you would take.
Yeah, Vanya got away with not making too many Zerglings early on. So in spite of him going for the faster roach and whatnot, he's only trailing behind 4 workers. He's already started making roaches. I think we're going to see him poke with +1 and then potentially get to put his second Evo chamber to use for a 2-1 timing as he takes his 3rd. So, actually, he canceled the second Evo chamber. So I think he might just commit to this as hard as he can.
Yeah. Yeah, it's only 34 workers. He's spamming roaches right now. He's holding down that R button. Like you were holding it to make Broodlord and Infestors a long time ago.
Why would I hold the R button to make Broodlord and Infestors, man?
Because you had to go roaches first.
Oh, yeah, probably. All right, well, this is still going to be a big attack from Vanya. It's kind of what we were expecting of Vanya. We'll see if Reynor was also expecting something like this. Of course, it's impossible to tell what kind of attack is coming, but sharp mid-game aggression is kind of the name of the game for him. 10 roaches in production for Reynor, a Spinecrawler as well. And I love that the Spinecrawler is tucked behind, but it's still not going to be enough for Reynor to be ready for this, and that means a few roaches actually spawning on top of the roaches of Vanya, as well as those drones who are going to be in trouble. Vanya very smartly also saying, this is my timing, this is where I have to win the game, so actually goes after the queens and the roaches instead of staying to try and kill the third hatchery where Reynor would have been able to collapse onto Vanya later, and Reynor having to pull drones, Yuan.
Hey, this is a great build, I gotta say, by Vanya here. +1 finished as the attack began. Now Queens find themselves on the other side of the map. They've got quite a bit of energy here for transfusions. Can he get a cancel on the carapace? It's gonna be close. Oh my god, it finishes literally 1 second before the Evo actually goes down. And now Vanya, he can choose. Does he stay inside of the third base? He's gonna take down the Roach Warren, which Reynor didn't anticipate. So now he cannot produce roaches anymore. It's gonna be only Lynx from here.
Yeah, this is great play and great decision-making with the play in itself from Vanya. So let's see if he can continue to capitalize here as Reynor has to pull workers once again. Vanya collapsing and jumping onto the army of Reynor. Reynor is trying to bile what he can, but it's not looking like he's going to have enough. And my prediction, Yuan, is looking pretty good.
It sure is. Vanya is just crushing through these forces here. Double the supply, and Reynor has to tap out here in game number 1 against all odds. I think the chat, what was it? It was 82% to 18%. The other commentators predicted Reynor to win, of course. But the prophet, El Capitan himself, predicting the 3-0 for Vanya. How do you do it?
Well, I studied this. That's why I was late, actually. I was late up studying Vanya's play and just exactly how it stacks up to Reynor. So I just saw it and I was like 3-0. And then I was like, no, 3-1. Nah, 3-0. So here's the first.
He went back. Yeah, that was unexpected. It feels like the third base was quite a bit delayed by Vanya, so maybe Reynor slightly overdroned, but it didn't feel like it was a crazy overdroning. It was 10 more. I mean, you can probably tell me better, but...
Yeah, I think it was more that Vanya underdroned, and you pointed it out.
Yeah.
He had a very low drone count. Usually you saturate both of your bases, which is probably what Reynor was expecting. So Reynor kind of going for a normal response where he saturates both of his bases plus 3 drones. It seems pretty safe, right? It's only 3 drones more plus the hatchery, so you should be able to hold everything in theory. But Vanya made 6 or so drones less than Reynor was expecting. And just hit a little bit harder, a little bit stronger than Reynor could have thought he could. So it looks pretty good. Also, second shortest rush distance map on the map pool. So for this reason, I was surprised when you were saying, Johan, that Vanya used the Lynx on this map because I didn't catch that game. Lynx are very counterintuitive on this map because they gain value from just large distances, whereas roaches are really strong. And queens also, Vanya was bringing the queens too. Also very good on short rush distance maps. So...
maybe that's why he did it, though. Because you wouldn't expect it on this map.
Oh, the Lynx? Yeah, maybe so. Yeah, Lynx and Muta both kind of take advantage of larger maps, in my opinion, as compared to roaches and queens, which, you know, are kind of slow, chunky, so...
But that was Vanya's map pick. Now we headed to Reynor's map pick, Jagannatha. Also a map that's played, I feel like, in almost every series, like when we see those DVZs, or even like in general, one of the more popular ones. And looking at what they did in their recent matches in this, it was also kind of standard on both sides. But that was the map that Vanya lost against Laser, where there was a Ling run by that you just wasn't ready for. At a weird timing too, like at a timing where like usually you wouldn't take any damage. Whereas on the other side, that was one of the 2 maps that Reynor kind of aced when he played against Sortov in a more normal game, I would say, where like Sortov just kind of all in at 9:30 and Reynor had a bunch of queens and roaches. He held it. He was like, oh, yeah, I just win.
Yeah, this is not an uncommon map for 12 pool. Less common perhaps than Beckett or Lightshade, as we just saw. But it is and Reynor did go 12 pool on Lightshade last time they played as well, or last time he played on Lightshade as well in a CVC. So Vanya kind of balls of steel to just go for the hatch first, as did Reynor. But now we are loaded into the map. And in the top right-hand side of the map, as the red Circ player, it is Reynor for Clash.
His opponent in the blue, also playing Zerg from Russia, it's Vanya.
Neither player opening with an early pool here. Interesting to note. Yeah, I mean, this is still kind of a map where you can do just about anything. It's not so bad for Muta and Lynx as compared to other maps. It is a medium-sized map, I would say, and it is pretty wide open. It's pretty long as compared to most maps, which are a little bit more square. So, and in spite of that, it has a lot of ram-by potential because there's so many entrances and kind of a large distance from the natural to the non-triangle third. So anything goes on this map, in my opinion, Johan. We're going to see both players opening the same once again. Do you think we're going to see Vanya do the same thing?
I don't think so because of the rush distance. It's probably like very specific. And also, once Reynor's been put on notice, like it's probably a bad idea to do that again. But there's also always this mind game of he would never expect me to do it like twice in a row. But yeah, I don't think it will work again. I mean, I know you predicted a 3-0 here and you're feeling your boy Vanya, but I
just want to see how it unfolds. All I want to see is how it happens, not if it happens, you know?
Yeah. I would like to see them opening standard, just not doing anything crazy in the first place. But then if one of them chooses to go Spire, then I want to see how that actually goes down, like if the opponent's able to see it. There was a game also that I watched where the Spire was scouted and then immediately canceled. So they're very capable of like adjusting. They're not always going to be like, oh no, I need to stick with the Spire because that's what I already went for, especially if you get scouted early.
Yeah, for sure. I think the Spire can be pretty versatile, especially if only one player is going for a Spire. You don't really need to commit and you kind of choose how many Muta you want to commit. There could be mind games if the second player opens Spire themselves and then they they look to catch up on Muta or make Corruptors or weird stuff like that can happen in CVC. But for now, it's all normie.
And most very good Zergs are very hard to trick, right, with any of these attacks because they are going to be good at scouting and then they know that as soon as you move out, they'll see it, they'll produce enough units to defend and then you've just invested a lot into an attack that's usually not going to do enough. So for it to have worked last game, means that Vanya kind of went the extra mile. You perfectly pointed out that he under-droned instead on like 34. And that's really what caught Reynor off guard. Now he's been put on notice, so I expect him to perhaps be a little bit more conservative, maybe go the extra mile with the scouting, because Vanya, you also mentioned it, like he's one of those very aggressive Zergs. I don't expect him to slow down at all. That would be the ultimate mind game, though, if he did. But I still expect him to be the one to try and take the initiative and be attacking a lot with like roach timings.
Yeah, that's the cool thing about CVC as well, is that you can have timings anywhere you want. This is what a lot of Europeans would have complained in the past about. Not so much like, oh, fix CVC or something like that, but they would think the Koreans are doing it wrong because they do this random attacks and they sometimes work because they're just so silly or something like that. But in reality, I think that Zerglings, for example, in CVC and just unit production in CVC is such that you can do that kind of thing, especially with Zerglings, but also with the likes of Roaches to some degree. Zerglings are the fastest unit in the game to produce, the fastest unit in the game to travel. So whenever you make a lot of Zerglings, if your opponent doesn't answer right away, then they're going to be in a lot of trouble. So Vanya here with a good defense so far is actually not going to net him an advantage because he's actually defended with more than Reynor had, which nets him the potential to counterattack. But yeah, otherwise an uneventful early game.
Yeah, we have the +1 already on the way for Reynor, but actually no Roach run yet. There it is. So yeah, it was slightly delayed in comparison. Obviously, you don't need to rush it as long as the opponent's not attacking. Whereas on the other side, it's the +1 Carapace from Vanya. Like, do you prefer this for either of them in terms of upgrades and what they might go for?
It's quite interesting, right? Vanya has the potential to stay on Lynx for longer. He has the potential to complement his Lynx with Ravagers instead of Roaches. It's a little bit difficult to make work against someone that's already going Banelings. It's better if your opponent skipped Banelings, as counterintuitive as that might sound, because obviously Lynx or Banelings will take one less shot or one more shot to kill Zerglings. But the cool thing is you can mix in Zerglings with this and then kind of try to get big surrounds on the Roaches. And then bile them down. And in Link versus Link battles, it can really make a huge difference. So we'll see what happens here. I don't.
Oh my god, he's Baneling. Actually gets a good connection on drones here. If he can finish some of them, that's going to be a big pick-off for Reynor, and he does. Some nice target fire. 4 drones go down. Doesn't feel like this is like the kind of aggression where he was necessarily supposed to achieve this every time. Reynor, he saw that there was a lot of unit production. He starts triple spine on the 3rd base, and he's spamming units himself right now. 6 banelings, 8 roaches on the way. I think he fully realized that there was going to be an attack coming, and I mean, you talked about it. We're going to have a lot of lings and Banes here in support this time around. And Vanya, as expected, is the aggressor yet again.
Yeah, exactly. As expected. This time around, Reynor looks a lot more ready. I mean, those 3 spines are almost overkill. Vanya not really finding the angle here. More reinforcements coming. No roaches have been morphed. Instead, Vanya went for extra banelings, probably accounting or trying to account for the number of banelings that Reynor was making. Beautiful micro by Vanya. It has to be noted. A lot of those roaches very red, but it won't matter if there are only 2 roaches fighting at the front, and this looks just not good for the Russian.
And I mean, if the next 2 waves don't work here, he might just tap out, because we've got 44 workers for Vanya, 53 for Reynor. Vanya actually starts a lair. So he might try and trade as much as he can here with these units, and then just try to take it further into the game, and maybe hope that he can get like some sort of Ling run by, doing a lot of damage. But I think those spines on the left-hand side is going to make Reynor very safe. Vanya just taps out. Reynor with the equalizer and great defense here in game number 2.
Yeah, I was actually pretty surprised that Vanya started a lair there because I felt the same way as you. I felt like if this isn't working and it wasn't gonna work, he probably should just step out. So it's kind of cool that he was still giving himself somewhat of a shot for a second there, but then reevaluates and thinks, okay, this is the world champ I'm going against.
Yeah, that was really great defense and a good reaction by Reynor. It feels like his aggression is also what helped him realize what was happening. I think he might have seen some of the units come out at the time, like the Overlord on the right also spotted the roaches and the units getting in position to attack him. And this is what I expected. I mean, this is kind of what most people would expect from the whole series, right? Is Vanya to try and play very aggressive, Reynor to defend and to just win. In game 1, somehow Vanya found success, but in game 2, we're back to normal, I guess.
Yeah, most definitely. And Reynor, I love what he did. His adaptation, like you said, was to make a lot more units earlier. And I think that, say, against Serral, he probably would never do something like that, where he makes a flood of links, because what he did is defensible with less, right? And then if you defend it with less, if you just have the banelings pre-morphed and you make 6, 8 less circlings, then all of a sudden you are giving up a significant economic lead to your opponent. So we'll see if Reynor continues that trend of kind of like scouting with aggression. It doesn't have to be big aggression. He can put himself a little bit behind and just gather intel, and that served him really well this game.
And just looking at what Vanya did when he played against Laser just less than a week ago, it seemed like he opened standards. He just did the, speed into Baning Nest, Evo at 40, went +1 missile, and he made a few roaches when reaching 46 drones. And he really tricked Laser in that he moved out with the 6 roaches and like made a few links as well to make it look like he was going to attack.
Nice.
But then he mass droned behind it, and Laser overreacted to it and made like a lot of units. So that way he got ahead, and then he went Spire, and it got scouted. So he ended up just going for an attack with a lot of units. And because he had gotten ahead through that move of moving out with units, he was able to win with just roach.
Yeah, that's the beauty of being Vanya in this series, right? If you're Vanya, you're the player that your opponent has to be scared of. And in the early and mid game, you have so much range. I mean, we just saw a very committed early game attack from the roaches. And then a kind of seemingly more normal opening into another all-in. So right now, I think that Vanya has that ability to where if he wants to trick Reynor, exactly the strategy that you just mentioned, I think very well might trick the world champ because he set himself up for it. Let's see if he can do something like that. In the bottom left-hand side of the map, it is teamless for now. Give him your energy, Vanya.
His opponent in the red from Italy, playing for Team Clash, it's Reynor. Yeah, playing to your image is one of the best things you can do sometimes to really like trick the opponent without even really doing anything fancy. Just, you know what they expect from you, be aware of your image, Reynor's the one opening with a pull 16 here. This was, whereas on the other side we have the hatchery first.
Yeah, and that's lovely from Vanya. He's still just been going hatchery first every game. So Reynor, once again, kind of on the defensive as the game starts, right? We can see where his mind is at somewhat by him just trying to play a little bit more defensive than normal. There is a pool, but there's not a gas, so there's no potential for aggression. Reynor's just saying, I'm going to be a worker or so behind, but that is going to be okay because I'm better.
Yeah, and also, yeah, just in case there was going to be some sort of rush here, he would have been better ready.
Oh, yeah.
Pose. We haven't seen so far, right? Like any of the earlier rushes.
No, not quite. Not off of the, the pool spawning and then the players doing something. I mean, on this map, it's not impossible to do something, but it is a large map relatively. So I think Reynor, if he wants to really account for what could have happened in this map, he will make links anyway. Maybe like 6. Yeah, he already made 6 links anyway. And the reason for that is that Vanya could have avoided Overlord vision and could be on Reynor's side of the map. Of course, Reynor can't sit back with the circlings. He has to try and make something happen on the other side of the map, or otherwise he's just going to be terribly behind. Vanya will spot this coming and react with his own 4 links later. So later pool, later links. That pans out pretty well for Vanya. Earlier hatchery, of course, earlier queen.
It has to evacuate the expo here for a second, unfortunately. One Ling almost gets caught here. Might be able to make it out. But yeah, way earlier, or not where, I guess, not that much earlier, but earlier speed for Vanya, who now goes for the bailing nest in the main base, almost as if to hide it, right? Like sometimes you would make it in the wall at the expansion. Wait, did you just lose all the links? What the hell? You lost 5 links.
Yeah,
Vanya,
that was
what are you doing, my man?
Yeah, that was a little bit sloppy by Vanya, right? Because that first link, to Reynor's credit, gets surrounded and has to run away. And maybe he thought he had enough firepower, but ended up fighting 3 links and 2 drones against 6 links to start the fight, right? Because Reynor takes the fight up the ramp. Whereas Vanya was probably hoping that my links in the natural are gonna spawn, and then with these 2 drones, I should be able to make the difference. So that would have been true if all of his army was consolidated, if it was in the same place. But because it was a little bit spread, then Reynor gets a little bit of a lead. And that is important when you're going for this sneaky attack like Vanya is.
All right, let's look at those links. Metabolic boost just completed. They're going to start running across the map. The bailing nest is not completed yet for Reynor, who's going to evacuate the expansion. He's going to try to hold at the ramp here. I think this looks smart because the wall-off wouldn't have had much hit points. Like those links probably would have gotten through. So he's going to try and buy time with the queens and probably get banelings behind this. But right now, he didn't even have the links in his main base to start morphing. So he morphed some at the expo, and Vanya sees an opportunity to try and kill the hatchery. I don't think he'll have time here against the banelings that are about to finish.
We'll have to wait and see. Vanya trying to collapse onto the 1 bailing. Actually, that gets a lot of damage done. Vanya needs to kill this hatchery and then kill the 3rd, because otherwise Reynor can't just go and mine that 3rd. So Vanya needs to retreat and do that. But 2 banelings fall on the retreat. It's a beautiful move from Reynor to give up that expansion. Not a common move. This banelings not able to find the connections that they were looking for onto the banelings of Reynor, but the links and good micro from Vanya will net him some of that. So we'll see if that's enough, as Vanya is trailing 9 workers behind. And I mean, Reynor still has the real estate to mine, Johan.
Yeah, Vanya didn't do enough damage here. I mean, it's nice to snipe the hatchery on the expo, but there's still long distance mining happening on this base. Now there's a lot of banelings as well for Reynor for the defense. Those queens putting in work as well. Ooh, he's going to circumvent all that and run into the main base there, which is largely unprotected.
Yeah, but the reinforcements, and now with the banelings arriving, it's looking like Reynor is going to hold this comfortably. And now he still has a 7-worker lead. The only problem for Reynor is that both bases are kind of split, but his Overlord coverage is very good. He doesn't have any actually to the left.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that was a weird ping. So someone's having some trouble potentially with hotkeys.
There's like a bunch of links right next to a baneling on that frame here that we paused on. And yeah, Vanya he's not transitioning out of it. He's not trying to drone up at all. He's just pure units here. He's really trying to break Reynor, but so far Reynor has done a very good job holding on.
Yeah, you can't really blame him. At this point, he's pretty far behind. Playing from behind and just, conceding this advantage, I guess, that he has. His only advantage is positional. right? It's a very weird game to allocate an advantage to, because usually you think in terms of who has more army, who has more drones, who has better tech. And in this case, I mean, the tech's just about even. Workers are in favor of Reynor, and army is one army supply in favor of Reynor as well. So Vanya being the aggressor in a situation like this, it kind of makes sense, because the only thing that he can do is try to exploit the fact that Reynor doesn't have an easy way to defend. He can't wall off his third, for example, right? And if you're Vanya, you can go both into the main or into the third with circlings. There is an angle without an overlord that he's not really taking at the moment.
Yeah.
But yeah, Vanya has to make something happen, and there are drones exposed, at least at the third Johan.
He needs to find some damage like sometime soon in this game for him to have a shot. But Reynor defensively, that looked really good. At first, when I saw the links being made, I was like, is Reynor going to be able to wall off on time at the expo? And then he just reacted immediately, almost as if he was expecting, like he was probably thinking, there is a chance right now that he's making links, because he identified that I open with an early pull and I'm not going to have speed as quickly as him and Painting Nest as well, which is the whole point of the build here by Vanya. So I guess good on Reynor getting the right read, and also I've always found that the hardest part about defending this kind of attacks / all-ins was knowing the exact response to each of them, because everything is super different timing wise and how it's being executed and stuff. But it feels like Reynor knew exactly what to do here.
Yeah, I mean, for a second there, I thought Reynor might be making a small mistake, because he morphed the first two banelings in front of the queens instead of behind the queens, where they would for sure morph. But the beautiful thing that Reynor did here, and I'm not sure if that's rehearsed or if that's just his instinct kicking in or what that was, but I thought it was amazing. He made an Evo chamber that served seemingly no purpose, but then he used it to tuck in the lings and morph them into banelings. So the first ling could be picked off by Vanya, where the surface area allowed for 3 circlings to kill the baneling. But the second ling, there was no surface area. Only one circling could attack it at a time, so it was always going to finish, even though it was on the other side of the wall, which is kind of a scary thing to do a lot of the time. So that was pretty cool, because that first baneling did a lot for Reynor, actually.
Yeah. It's little details like this that can make the difference between a good player and one of the best players, I feel as well, for sure. And
for sure.
I love how Reynor's chatting a whole bunch. He's like, banger of a game, I like it, in the lobby. Always so chatty and pretty happy about the whole competing thing.
Yeah. He says, I think I'm a bit ahead, but it's tight. I think he's pretty far ahead, actually. I think he knows that he's kind of far ahead. I think if you're Vanya, you're sweating a little bit. The hotkeys seem to have betrayed him for a second there at some point, which, of course, is the only way that my prediction wouldn't hold true. And so this time around, I think that, Vanya has to make something happen. He is trailing behind by a lot of workers, Johan. So the third is where the magic's presumably going to happen. The drones are going to be nearby where the fights happen. So if any banelings slip through to the mineral line, then those drones are a liability, and Vanya could look to equalize. But even if you kill all workers in that expansion, Johan, I think you're pretty much just evening the game for the most part. So Vanya is going to be looking for more than that. It's going to be difficult to find against the world champ. We are now recovering the game, so we had to reload it. But we'll
this feels like the kind of game where it's going to be decided in the next 20 to 30 seconds as well, right? With the attack and the banelings on the third base, can he find damage or not? If he doesn't find much of it, it's probably way too far behind. Might stay in the game for longer, but then it's it just feels so bad, right? Against somebody as good as Reynor, because it's when is this guy going to start making big enough mistakes that he's going to allow you back in this game? So it's now or never. He's had a whole few minutes to think about how he wants to make those baneling connections work here with the attack on the third base, or I guess on the natural that's not been moved away.
Yeah, completely agreed. I think that this game is already more or less leading heavily towards Reynor. It's only a 7 supply difference, however, but it is a very early supply difference. We are loaded back in. So to remind you, we are watching Vanya's camera as the blue circ. Reynor is the red circ here on the defense.
Let's see. There's a lot of links. Reynor being very patient with his own banelings. Good movement so far. And he's setting up a counterattack, which I think Vanya saw on the left-hand side here with one of his Overlord. Perhaps he's trying to move back with links. This is a great job done by Reynor. Oh my god, the 2 Banes at the top! Oh my god, what a sick trade. Catches a lot of the Banelings here.
Yeah.
His opponent. That was very well done.
Yeah, so a lot of the Banelings of Vanya are gonna falter 2-2 Banelings of Reynor that he left behind while going on the counter offense. Going on the counter offense, sometimes they say attack is the best defense. In this case, it stands true, Johan, as the entire army of Vanya, who we just explained wants to be aggressive at this stage in the game, had to come back to defend. And now he's making a lair, again, as an odd choice, adding an Evo Chamber. Those are not the traits that the Russian was looking for yet again. Another 2 Baneling collapse onto the links, and Reynor also has full information of the lair, and when it went down, Vanya is running out of options. You were saying it, Johan, he might stay in the game longer. This is a very important series for Vanya, but it's gonna be near impossible. Like, I almost would call this game at this point, and you know, if it's somehow there is a recovery, it will be miraculous, and I'd be happy to be wrong here, but yeah. It don't look good.
Reynor would have to make some pretty big mistakes, feels like, for
Huge.
sure.
Yeah.
And we have 4 gases already here for Vanya, so perhaps a Spire on the horizon gets scouted actually perfectly here, that there is the Rotron, that there is 4 gases, so Reynor should have a pretty good idea of what's possible. On the other side, he actually used that Evo for the +1 missile. So it actually came in like handy in many ways, and there it is, the Spire for Vanya.
Yeah, exactly as you were saying, Johan. I mean, this is a Hail Mary. Vanya is just hoping, okay, Reynor scouted my Roach Warren. He might think that I can't go Muta or something like that. I think what's going to happen here is Reynor is going to test Vanya at some point with his own Roaches. He is about to get +1 attack for his Roaches. I wouldn't mind him just crossing the map right now. I don't think that Reynor falls for this, right? Because you don't usually see a lair completed and a Roach Warren not completed yet.
Yeah.
So it's very difficult to fall for it, but at the same time, the Roach Warren was tucked far back enough that Reynor, and it started before Reynor got the scout guaranteed, right? So there is a chance that Vanya was going for something like Nidus off of this, I guess, if you're Reynor, but I would not expect the champ to be fooled here.
I mean, Reynor has vision everywhere anyway. Even as a queen in a corner of his main base for some reason, so almost like guarding that location. He sees anywhere Nidus could go up, and yeah, by now, all he has to do is really spam units. I mean, of course, if mutas come out, like, they're going to do a good job at shooting Roaches, but there is such a supply lead, which, like, he had the 3rd base so much quicker, and he hits the inject really well. Like, he had the economy, Reynor just in the driver's seat here. He might just move out with the Queens as well, or do you want to maybe wait for, like, some Hydralist or something? You think you can just go Queens and Roaches, no?
Maybe not anymore, because the Muta are already out. The Queens are going to take very long to cross the map, and he just started his Roach speed as well. So I don't think that Reynor will be looking to move out. I think he will just defend here. He's dropping a Hydra then, which is a good response in so long as he can get enough Hydras to contend with the Muta after the Spores finish and do their jobs. Then Reynor can transition easily into Lurker, Hydra Roach Lurker, and go for like a timing when he's like around 170, 180 supply instead, or even max. I mean, he can even max. The only problem for Reynor is going to be map control here. Vanya can take a 4th a little bit more easily than he can, especially if he can continue to make this Muta. But with the economy that Reynor has, I mean, he's going to be able to make a lot of Hydras.
There were not actually many Overlords on the map. Reynor only lost an Overlord and an Overseer, that's it. So I think upon realizing what was happening, he did a good job just kind of pulling everything back, minimizing his losses. And now that translates into a very, very big supply lead. The units lost tab, actually. The trades that Reynor has been able to get, he lost 36 links, but he killed 74. That's insane, that's double. And Banelings, he lost only 3, but killed 11. So he's been trading amazingly this whole game.
Yeah, he really has been. Now let's see what this Muta can find. Not even a single Roach, and Reynor has the Queens that are available for Transfuse. Vanya is going to see that there are Hydras. Now the next step for Vanya should probably be to get that Baneling speed. This could be a mistake from Reynor. We've actually seen him not so much throwaway games, because he actually came back in that game against Dark. But you know, this can be dangerous if there was Baneling speed already ready. And it collapses onto the Hydras, then all of a sudden the Muta can clean everything up. That said, they would take a while to clean it up anyway, because this is just such a large force. And there are no banelings this time around, so it's looking near impossible for the Russian.
Yeah, Mystical Augments just completed here. That fourth base is going to be cancelled. And +2 missile about to finish here for Reynor, who's very close to being maxed out, but way more army supply by almost like a 50 supply difference. Just gonna...
Yeah.
Why is he sending a bunch of his army back? I guess there's a counter attack, but he may be oversplit here. Okay, no, he fixed it now. Reynor was like sending back way too much here for a second.
You're completely right. I completely agree, and it's good that he adjusts. Now the Mutas are trying to fight with the Queens and a couple of Hydras, but now with the rest of the Roaches joining in. It's a very difficult task here. The Evo Chamber will get targeted down. It's not really researching anything. Vanya was trying to use this Mutas to kind of reset his economy. The Muta will clear the Hydras, and the Roaches will help with the target firing on the Queens. So eventually Vanya will clean this up, but it will cost them, I think, a little bit too much, Johan, and Reynor is reinforcing across the map too.
Yeah, drones are starting to fall. 8 of them have already gone down. Groove Spine's about to finish behind this, and Reynor's economy and macro just, flawless behind this, is being untouched on the other side of the map. Vanya forced to tap out, and Reynor takes the 2-1 lead here.
Yeah, as he continues to rap to his Italian music. Have you heard that playlist, Johan?
I checked it out briefly, and yeah, I was not too impressed. But then again, I listen to very different. When I hear the Roddy and the Muslim basic playlist, I also never was really impressed by it. So
fair enough.
I got different taste.
Yeah, I think most people do. We'll be back after a short break with the continuation of the series. Welcome back to DreamHack Masters Fall. We are now in the playoffs, where we have our first match. It's a CVC that Reynor leads 2-1 against Vanya. The next map, Johan, it's the most interesting to me as far as strategies are going to be concerned in the early game. It's Beckett Industries.
Yeah, which didn't get vetoed here. Isn't that a little weird because it's supposed to be such a crazy map?
Yeah, I think a lot of these maps players are willing to play them, especially these players that are aggressive, but the problem is the matchups. So most Turks will, for example, feel that this is a very Terran-favored map. Reynor going for the 12th pool, by the way.
Yep. Production tab, nothing was being started. Choosing to be the aggressor. I mean, he's up 2-1, you know, like, even if this ends up not working out, he would still have one more map to try and win this series on. On the other side, Vanya is still droning up.
Yeah.
Is he going to hatchery first, which would be maybe a little greedy against the chance of somebody rushing?
Yeah, we'll find out. In the top right-hand side, of course, it is Reynor going for the 12th pool. And in the bottom left, go on, Johan. Vanya!
Blue.
It's Vanya! Going for early pool. Thank you, Johan.
Yeah, he didn't go for the hatch first, at least, which maybe would have made it a little harder to defend against the Ling attack or the incoming Ling attack here of Reynor. And curious how quickly the gas is going to be made here from Reynor. Like, you're supposed to go for the hatchery first, of course, on the expansion. But then you can skip the gas for a little bit. Usually, I mean, you don't. There's not so much points, right? Because you already have the spawning pool anyway, so you might as well want to go speed and make sure you cover all your bases. But yeah, on the other side, just very standard build from Vanya, which it feels like this might be slightly better for Vanya if he gets the appropriate defense, right?
Oh, yeah, largely better for Vanya, I would say. He should be able to get the appropriate defense. I am happy to see Vanya do this. I was, anything could have happened on this map, right? Like, I could have seen Vanya going for the early pool and Reynor actually going for the defensive pool, as he feels like he is probably the better player. But as it stands, this is going to largely favor Vanya. Doesn't need to chase that far even. Just gotta chill, make enough circlings to defend here. Now the rest of the links are gonna join in. One drone almost falling, but great micro, very fast. Vanya with the micro, with a kind of returning that drone that was a little bit read back. Some mining time lost, but overall, Johan, this should favor the Russian greatly.
Yeah, Vanya been doing this well, but I feel like Reynor as well is so quick to punish if the Lings of Vanya ever step out of position and start attacking a little too much. They've both done a great job, and now we find ourselves in a position where, the Queen, he thought about it, but there's enough Lings nearby. Reynor just looking to try and trade out his Lings and maybe get 1 or 2 drones in the process, but he will get none.
Yeah, very well done by Vanya. Actually, exposing the Queen is one of the cooler things that you can do. Reynor, jumps on the Queen, and if Vanya wasn't paying attention for an extra second, then all of a sudden you have 8 circlings worth of damage for that extra second, which might just be enough to focus the Queen. But Vanya was kind of baiting. He was ready for Reynor to go after his Queen, and then if the Queen gets surrounded and your links are doing damage, then you're leveraging the Queen's HP, which it's a lot more than any circlings, for the links to do damage, which is a lot higher damage per second than the Queen. So that would not have gone well for Reynor to actually go after the Queen. He knew it. He tries to retarget. Didn't work out. And very good early game for Vanya here.
Reynor actually ended up skipping the gas entirely for a while, and now he's taking the double extractor on the Expo, so as well as adding the Evo. Does that hint maybe a little more towards roaches, as we do see the roach run now being thrown down?
Yeah, trillion%, because when you open with a 12 pool, a lot of the time you have to decide, do I go gas and completely all in with a follow-up, or do I just go roaches and skip the gas completely? Now, the problem for Reynor is that Vanya has also skipped link speed completely, so he has read the play from Reynor. He has taken a small risk, potentially against circling speed, even though I'm not even sure if that's fair to say, because he has his own pseudo wall-off. And Reynor actually, again, playing to the reputation of Vanya. You can see with 2 queens, you can actually block this. But if there was a link flood, it would be dangerous. Reynor's thinking, okay, I'm not going to die to any link flood, but Vanya's not going for a link flood. And that means that extra Evo chamber, that's an equivalent of 2.5 drones, essentially.
Yeah, Reynor actually doesn't have his overlords that close to Vanya's base. Like, there's one in the top left kind of spotting if there is the third base start there, but the other one is more like in the center. Is that maybe a bit of a mistake, you think? Or is that normal? To not kind of see like the outside of the wall of the opponent?
The outside of the third base. Oh, the wall is a little tricky for sure because, you know, you can move out with the queens if there's good creep threat. I still think he could have maybe checked earlier and then backed away a little bit earlier. But yeah, I think he's just being a little bit cautious, and it's not gonna be too huge of a deal. I think, regardless, Reynor, like you're alluding to, has not gathered enough intel. Now, for the first time, we'll see. Vanya also skipped link speed, right? So Reynor took some losses just in terms of build order, then took some more losses just to be safe. So Vanya is in a very, very good position.
It's almost like the roles have been a little reversed from last game, where like Vanya has the way earlier third that he can saturate. Those end up getting supply blocked a bit here. He needs to fix that. But yes, 6 more drones on the way now for Vanya. And if he hits all the injects right, and he does this well, he should be getting a bit more of a supply lead than he already has there.
Yeah, he will poke up until the middle of the map. You love to see that. He's just gonna force more units out of Reynor, and it completely works. Now, Vanya has not continued to drone up. He is going for a +2 timing, potentially, which I don't mind at all. There is no second Evo chamber for him, however, so Reynor might go for +2, +1, as he can also add the Carapace upgrade. Vanya was a little bit careful, but not too careful, right? Like, being 8 workers ahead of Reynor is kind of perfect, and the nicest scout as well, Johan.
Yeah, like in game 1, Vanya attacked. Like, I really like the build. He attacked exactly as +1 finished. Now, with him being ahead, with the quicker third, with being ahead in economy, and also the quicker +2, which I'm sure he should be able to realize, does that mean that perhaps we're almost sure to see a Roach Ravager timing with +2, where he's just going to have way more than Reynor? I feel like perhaps, because he's still not droning up. He's only spamming Roaches right now.
Yeah, almost certainly we're going to see exactly what you're talking about. +2 is nearly done, or actually halfway done. The problem here for Vanya, if there is a problem, is that if his attack doesn't actually kill Reynor, then Reynor will have that extra upgrade that I was talking about earlier, because he did have the extra Evo chamber, so he was able to start the Carapace. But that's more resources that Reynor doesn't have in his army. Beautiful move by Vanya. Might seem inconsequential here. Normally, you don't necessarily want to park your Roaches there, but I think he moved them out of the way of the Overseer. And again, now shoving his army to the right and repositioning the Queens to kind of...
Reynor's droning.
Yeah.
9 drones on the way. He's misreading this.
Yeah.
And Vanya, there's going to be a very short window. I don't know how long it's going to be, maybe like 20 seconds, 30 seconds, where he's going to have +2, and Reynor won't. Reynor gets supply blocked here.
Yeah.
A little bit as well. Vanya with a big supply lead.
Yeah, as people often say, Johan, I think he dead. I think Vanya's got this game in the bag. He just needs to execute, jump on top of the army. He has much more. He knows it now. Reynor is trapped. There are chokes behind him. I mean, if he tries to retreat, that's just going to make it even harder. I think that this game has come to a close as Vanya hits a perfect timing, and Reynor will get pushed out just off of early game advantages and being safe, which is really a cool statement to make going into game 3. You have to be a little bit psyched out because this time around you kind of played it safe. You went on the 12-pull aggression to try and, account for anything that Vanya could do and try to outplay from there, kind of what he did against Sword of, right? Where he took some disadvantages in Jagannatha, you were alluding to it earlier, and then just kind of outplayed him. And he was that much better that he was able to bring it back. But Vanya kind of saying, not even close.
Yeah, he actually attacked before the upgrade finished as well. Like, I think he could just... Maybe he got a little nervous and he was like, oh, he's about to catch up in supply. I need to go now. Maybe he could tell he had supply blocked him also a little bit. And very successful attack. We're all tied up. Not many people would have predicted this. Certainly, I think almost nobody.
Almost nobody would predict a Vanya win. But...
only a madman.
What can I say, Johan? Sometimes I just kind of look into the future. Is it going to come to fruition? We're going to find out soon. But this was a pretty cool game by Vanya. Really, really well done. I love that he also skipped the link speed. Like, he took a risk. Basically, that was Reynor taking 2 hits himself just to be safe, and Vanya taking 1 risk. So it was kind of 3 little moments as far as strategy is concerned, where they all stacked up on top of each other for Vanya, and we saw it in the army difference. I'm completely with you. He could have maybe waited for that +2. I am thinking maybe he saw the army of Reynor and he said, I have so much more, I'm not waiting. Or an overlord spotted his army a little bit earlier than he wanted it to be spotted.
Yeah.
And he said, okay, let's go gas. Gas pedal to the gas to the pedal.
All right, let's jump into the next map. It's going to be Blackburn here coming up as the decider here for this best of 5, starting in the bottom left-hand side of the map, playing as the Red Zerg from Italy, playing for Team Clash. It is Reynor.
And in the bottom right-hand side of the map, the blue Zerg player, teamless at the moment, go give him your energy and will him from home to make a hatchery at the gold. It is Vanya. If Vanya drops a hatchery at the gold, Johan, I'm going to give him so much energy that he's just going to take it. But now it looks like both players are just going for the normal expansion here.
Yeah, on this map, I feel like the best game plan for somebody like Reynor, who in the late game, I would say is probably very heavily favored. Like, I know like you want to have some sort of initiative in the game. You don't want to just sit back and like try to react to what the opponent is doing. But the thing is, it might be the best possible game plan for Reynor. Just go the extra mile with the scouting. I mean, of course, you can't be sending like a link in every 10 seconds because otherwise it's going to be very costly and you won't have drones. But just put some effort into the scouting. Try to see when Vanya is making units because it seems almost unavoidable that he's going to be making units at some point and attacking you.
Yeah. When I think about this map, however, and if Reynor takes his expansion vertically right now, I think that will be a very good defensive position as compared to other maps. I think that Vanya, if he wants to be aggressive, maybe he could consider the triangle, or like I said earlier, maybe something like an early gold or something like that to try and mix it up. But it's very difficult to attack into the ramp this map, and the third is going to be further away than the natural on this map effectively. So it's not an easy map to be aggressive on early game. You mentioned before, Vanya does have some other tricks up his sleeve. I would love to see fast Muta, maybe take some risks that Reynor won't all in him and go fast Muta. I don't know that I would like to see an early game push into a ramp or a very far away third zone.
Yeah. I would be high risk, high reward, which,
yeah,
great
can
to pull it off. But then if you lose the game 5 against Reynor with this, that would feel pretty damn terrible. And then you'd have like days to think about it.
Yeah.
Do any of your losses ever haunt you from your pro gaming career, or? My loss at MLG to you haunts me to this day.
Johan, it wasn't so bad, man. I mean, I even gave you a regame, is what it sounds like.
What? I was ahead, bro. Oh my god.
Okay, Johan.
How dare you?
Mm-hmm.
Unbelievable.
All right, well, Vanya's gonna get in here. Gonna potentially kill one of these drones. Would be a really nice pickoff, but Reynor with just beautiful defense there. On the other side, Reynor has opted to scout instead of going after drones. We'll still poke at the drones to make sure that Vanya reacts to it, but the queen will get here, and Vanya won't have to readjust too much. To answer your question, no, Johan, I can't think of any game that I look back on and I'm like, Oh, you know what? A little bit that Nation Wars game that you casted against Cyril, because it would have been just so amazing. But I mean, going into the game, I thought that I had no chance. So it wasn't like, oh, I threw it. It's like, it was kind of destined to throw, but it would have been so cool.
Yeah, that would have been crazy. All right. Painting Nest well underway here for Reynor, who's getting ready to defend whatever. And we do have the +1 melee, so that makes me think immediately, seeing the fourth gas, that we're going to have a Spire from Vanya and playing a little bit of mind games here already. In this follow-up scouts, very nicely done by Reynor here, sees the Roach Warren. Almost went in, actually.
Yeah, Reynor does have the ability to potentially cancel a third with these links, but there is no third from Vanya, so things are working pretty well for Vanya. It will be a Spire, I think, like you were saying. So it is pretty nice. The +1 melee will come in handy against roaches themselves. And I think once Vanya is saturated on 2 bases, he can start just making a lot of links himself. Look at that. Beautiful wall-off as well. No use for those circlings of Reynor. And Vanya is doing exactly what I would hope he would do on this map, because I think that the roach attack wouldn't work on this map. And while Reynor should know that this is a strong possibility for Vanya to go for the Spire, and even Vanya even tricking Reynor further with the Roach attack. Because the series has played out in the way that it has played out, because we're in a game 5, and Vanya has pretty much gone for a Roach aggression just about every game that goes to the mid game, and a very similar timing as this one to win his first game, Reynor still has to be careful, still can't just, you know, leave anything to chance.
Oh, he could have gone in with like at least some of the links to double check, but he does see that there's a decent amount of links, which almost certainly should. I mean, it was almost a coin flip up until recently, right? There could have been anything behind this wall. Now, he should be pretty sure that it's Mutas coming up behind this. Reynor's going for a lot of links, and Banes is going to fight fire with fire. He knows that he might get attacked, so he's just going to set up a giant counter attack with a lot of Bane links as well.
Yeah, but Reynor wants to be on the other side of the map, to be honest. Vanya is just kind of like, hey, I'm attacking you, don't come attack me. But now Reynor's like, wait a second. That is not enough. And Reynor actually already preemptively planning for the banelings. He has to pretty much kill Vanya with this attack, as Vanya has 8 Muta on the way. I wouldn't mind one of those drones going and trying to make a Wolof again. Instead, it's going to be all the drones that die for Vanya. And this is looking pretty good for the world champion.
Yeah, 10 drones, 11 now already going down. Links are going to keep on streaming in. And Reynor fully realized there was no Baneling nest from Vanya, so mass link Bane, why not here? They're crushing through everything. Already 19 drones going down. He's finding so much damage, and behind this, there's going to be much more links where that came from. He's also spamming links for the defense against the Mutas. Vanya in a world of trouble.
Yeah, Vanya, I mean, he's dead. Reynor is just adding spores now. Just has to not die to the Muta, but 43 workers lost. Vanya will tap out. And Reynor with the upset. Keepo.